It was an ugly one in Philadelphia as the Dallas Stars get dominated from start to finish. Special teams did not have their brightest moments, and now an important weekend lingers on the road trip. Let's jump into it next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer at 105 Through the Fan and play-by-play voice of the Chippewa Steel. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Well, after one of the most complete wins of the season a few nights ago for the Dallas Stars over the LA Kings, they follow up with a complete dud in Philadelphia. They got ran out of the building. The Flyers win 5-1. There were not many positives in the game, and the Stars will move on to an important weekend here against the New Jersey Devils and the New York Islanders. This is a venting episode of Locked On Stars. We're going to get out all the bad vibes today on today's episode. We're going to leave this game into the past, and we are going to head into the weekend with sunshine and rainbows. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Friday. The weekend is here, and it should be a fantastic time. Let's go ahead and get the bitterness of this taste out of all our mouths, because it was not very pretty, to say the least. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So, if I can make a very blanket statement on what transpired last night at the Wells Fargo Center, it would be the Dallas Stars were not prepared to compete at the level necessary to beat the Philadelphia Flyers last night. Nowhere near the compete level and energy to keep up with the Philadelphia Flyers. One of the best displays of effort I have seen in the National Hockey League this season. The Philadelphia Flyers were absolutely buzzing last night. Time and space, there was none of it for the Dallas Stars right from puck drop. Complete domination for the Flyers. I jokingly tweeted in the first period that the Dallas Stars have not arrived in Philadelphia. They were nowhere to be found in the first 30 minutes of this hockey game. And it was mainly disappointing for the fact that you're beginning this 4-game road trip. You want to start it on a high note. You're trying to make a push towards the All-Star break, keeping pace in the Central Division. And it was just meh. It was just very meh. And it wasn't the effort level that was concerning either. The effort level was there, at least in my eyes. They were trying to make plays, but the Flyers just took every single thing away. They were hard on the forecheck. They were superb in the offensive zone. They made it almost impossible for the Stars to make a clean pass in their own zone out to center. I mean, Dallas was struggling to get the puck out of the blue line, out of their own zone and get it out to neutral ice because the Flyers were so heavy on their forecheck and they were so good. They were just so good. I have to give a ton of credit to Philadelphia. And to some degree, the Stars were just off. It just felt like a ton of guys had an off night. And that makes it really, really hard to win in the National Hockey League. Usually every night someone is a bit off and not having the game they would have liked. Last night, it felt like a ton of guys were just a bit unhinged. They just did not have their best stuff. And then when they got into the offensive zone and they tried to get something going, the puck would roll off their stick, couldn't get a shot through. It was a real frustrating night. It was a frustrating night for everybody involved. Jake Oettinger was taking on an onslaught as well. The Flyers shot a ton of pucks towards him. And here's just some numbers from the game to just show you how dominating it was. Of course, they won 5-1. It probably could have been worse because even Philadelphia, to some degree, did not execute the best when they had some really, really great opportunities. Oettinger, I think, played the best you can when surrendering 5 goals per game. Take a look at the shot numbers. Outshot 14-1 in the first, 16-8 in the second, 13-6 in the third, for a total of 43-15. The Flyers shoot a ton of pucks, and yes, some of those were from the blue line and off the rush that weren't really high danger chances, but they outchanced the Stars 32-12 at 5-on-5 at even strength. Look at the Corsi percentages. This tells you all you need to know about how dominating it was for the Flyers. 67% in the first period, 61 in the second. It was 54 in the third. If I had to guesstimate what the possession numbers were in that first period, it may have been 87 to 92% of possession for the Flyers. The Stars did not have the puck, and when they did, they were just turning it over to Philadelphia the entire time, and they were constantly tracking back to their net. And Oettinger was superb, besides Walker beating him on a breakaway where he was untouched from the red line in. Joel Hanley did not have his best night. That goal was not on him, by the way. The Stars had a lot of problems up the ice. Hanley did not have his best night later on. But yeah, it was a total shellacking for the Flyers last night. The Stars hung around, though. They survived the majority of the game. Seguin scored in the second period to make it 2-1, his 17th of the season. The beat goes on for Mr. Seguin. And then the Stars had some life for like a 6-minute stretch. And you thought, well, maybe they'll tie it up here and they'll hit that switch that they sometimes find, that extra gear to pull themselves ahead. And that was not happening last night. Philadelphia came out. They get a power play goal from Atkinson. Lawton on the penalty shot scores. And it was lights out for the Dallas Stars. But yeah, outshot 43-15 in the game. Outchanced 32-12. They earned and deserved every bit of that win last night. And they were not prepared to compete at that level, the level necessary to win a hockey game. Plain and simple. That effort that the Flyers gave yesterday is what wins you games come springtime when it really matters. And Dallas was just not ready to go to that level. Big props to Philadelphia, man. They were all over the ice. Just constant giveaways from the Stars. Not many guys had a very great night. You know, to be honest, Nils Lundqvist was one of the better Stars, I thought, in the game. He ended up with a game score average of 1.01, which is the highest on the team. I thought he actually looked pretty decent in the game. But other than that, it just felt like everybody had an off night, just trying to make plays in the offensive zone, especially at the Flyers blue line. That just wasn't going to happen. That was a game where they needed to dump and chase a bit more and get in on the forecheck, because Philadelphia had great gap control. They were keeping them to the perimeter on the boards, and Dallas just could not do anything, even when they had a few looks. It was a beautiful goal by Seguin, and that was really the only positive of the night. Stars got into some penalty trouble too, which did not help, which continued to feed the momentum for Philadelphia, and Dallas could not leave the Wells Fargo Center fast enough. Man, it was not a pretty sight in a lot of aspects. And that's my statement. It's just, they just were not ready to compete at that level. It wasn't because Philadelphia was necessarily more talented or better, so to speak. Dallas just wasn't ready to take it to that level. And it was disappointing just due to the fact that, yeah, it's the start of a road trip. Pick up a full 2 points. You have Otter and Net that's playing really, really well. And they just didn't have any life in them. And you're gonna get that. You're gonna have a few duds and stinkers throughout the season. And that's just kind of what I chalk it up to. It just feels like it came at a very inopportune time after a solid win against the Kings. Granted, the Kings were coming in at the end of a 6-game road trip. They have played a lot of hockey games. They were tired and struggling as well, but it was still a very convincing win, and you were hoping to build off of that, and it just quite wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And I think that game tells me a lot more about the Flyers than it does the Stars, so to speak, is kind of how I put it. Torts has those guys buzzing around. Tippett scored an absolute beauty. Oh, my goodness. The spinorama shelf up top. Thanks for coming. And if the game wasn't already over by that point, Tippett added the cherry on top. So, yeah, not very good. Some of the time on ice numbers for you, just in case you were interested in that. In all situations, Lindell played 21 minutes because the Stars had to kill off a ton of penalties. Harley played 21:46. That was the most on the team. Suter and Lundqvist are up there. Johnston played the most of all the forwards at 16:22. He was okay in the game too. It's just there wasn't a ton of positives in the game. They had some looks, right? It's like, oh, okay, they're making some plays. The Robertson, Hintz, and Johnston line, same trios as the contest against LA. So DeBoer continues to rock with that. We'll see if that stays over the weekend. I don't know. I wouldn't take a whole lot of stock in it. I really did like the new lines and the new trios. I think you stay with it for a few more games here on the weekend. It obviously paid off for you a few nights ago. Stay with it. See what happens. Maybe you'll just have a bit better energy and compete level to you here on the weekend. And make your decision after that. So yeah, that's kind of the way I would describe it. Stars just got ran out of the building. They got dominated, and sometimes that happens in a very unfortunate moment. But credit to the Flyers. Credit to the Flyers. Dallas could not do anything, and even when they had their looks, they were very few and far between. Let's get into special teams a bit, discipline, and kind of what transpired on a few of their power plays and the PK as well in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Indeed. Indeed is driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't a search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't help you hire faster, doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So go ahead and join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel. The NFL regular season has wrapped up, of course, and now we are in the thick of things in the NFL playoffs. And you can get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. We have the NFL playoffs right this weekend. You have the Green Bay Packers taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The Lions are taking on the Buccaneers. Go ahead, prop up this weekend, win you some money while you're watching the playoff games. The app is so easy to use on FanDuel as well, and there's so many different ways to bet. I've talked about them before. You have the live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. It's the best way to find popular parlays, and there's so much more you can do. It doesn't just have to be the NFL. You can make some money while watching the Stars. So go ahead, download the app on FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Okay, special teams had a few blunders last night in the contest as the Stars give up a power play goal. They go 0 for 2 on the power play as well. Let's start with the power play. And frankly, just nothing going once again. It really felt like a microcosm of the entire game. Dallas just could not enter the offensive zone cleanly. That's one of the things they missed most about Miro Heiskanen. Is Miro is so good on his entries on the power play, making the correct decision to get the Stars in cleanly. Dallas just was not connected through the neutral zone. Also, once again, credit to Philadelphia. They're a wonderful penalty killing unit. They're the best in the National Hockey League, and they sure looked like it last night. I think the Stars may have had 2 or 3 shots on the power play. I'll have to get the exact numbers on that, but did really not test Arson very much in the game. And yeah, on the power play, the Stars had 3 shots on the power play. And frankly, it was because they didn't win a face-off on the power play. They were 0 for 2 in that department, and then they couldn't get in cleanly. And even when they did set up, they hit bodies, could not work the puck around quick enough. And Pete DeBoer went with Harley as a quarterback at one point. Lundqvist was out there too. Just seems like they're shifting up personnel and nothing's really clicking. And the power play has been better as of late. So I'm not going to come on here and completely, give my wrath to the power play by any means, but they had an opportunity to at least make the game a bit more interesting if they were able to capitalize. But Philadelphia, once again, just much quicker on their execution, much quicker, much more connected, and just better in all facets of the game. Yesterday, Stars got into some penalty trouble too. They ended up taking 8 penalty minutes on the night, and it was just a matter of time before Philadelphia cashed in and they scored the big one, which ends up pretty much being the deciding factor of a Stars comeback. Atkinson in the power play makes it 3-1. Stars get chasing a bit. Otter makes the save, and then the Stars are just not in good positions in front of their own net. Atkinson gets interior, and he's able to bat it out of midair and get the job done. Other than that, I mean, they went 1 for 4 on the power play for Philadelphia, but they had a ton of great looks. And Otter was really good in the game. I feel like I've said that ad nauseum too. He was a big factor in it too. I thought he played the best you can when surrendering 5 goals. He faced 43 shots and made 38 saves. It was a complete onslaught for Philadelphia, and special teams once again just kind of felt very lackluster. not a ton of energy, not a ton of life when they could have injected some into the game by scoring on the power play or getting that big kill. And they just couldn't get it. And it was really, really unfortunate. And it was only a matter of time, too. Of course, the penalty shot kind of goes hand in hand because Hanley took an infraction on that one. And then Lawton's able to bury that. And once again, it was kind of too little too late, too. When the Stars got to their game at the end of the second period, it just felt like they weren't going to get enough chances to get back into the game. And special teams kind of felt that way too, just not overall as connected as the Flyers. And the power play has just kind of been a bit dry. It's been okay in the last 2 to 3 weeks. But as I've talked about earlier this week, they have outscored their problems a ton. When you're scoring 4 goals per game, even when your power play has not necessarily been stellar, they score a goal here and there, but I don't think they have had a multi-goal power play night in a few weeks now. It's been a while. I'll have to check on the numbers again. I know I think I said that yesterday, but it's been a while since I feel like they've cashed in a few times. And they're missing Miro, of course, who actually was not with the team on the road trip. They mentioned he was going to travel, but he was not in Philadelphia. So we'll see if he joins them later on, maybe in New York or Detroit at the end of this 4-game road trip. But I think with Miro coming out or coming back could really bump up the special teams, especially on the power play, because they've pretty much exclusively been making him the quarterback for both units, and they need him back in a lot of ways. They need him defensively, and they need him for some offensive production. Even though I think the Stars have been okay without him recently, with their defending in front of their own net. I think Otter playing pretty lights out in his first 4 games back has certainly helped, but playing good defense and better than average goaltending kind of goes hand in hand. And the Stars need better efforts in terms of goals, of surrendering goals on most nights. So yeah, special teams not pretty. The game in general wasn't very pretty. Let's go ahead, look into the weekend. A big back-to-back against New Jersey and New York on this 4-game road trip, and we will do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is also brought to you by Jace Medical. I know we come to sports to escape the crazy realities of real life, but let's go ahead and talk about preparing for real life just a minute. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season ever. And that can be scary. You don't want to imagine a significant other or one of your kids get sick, and with the supply chain issue, keeps you from getting them life-saving medication that they need. Thankfully, with Jace Medical, we'll be okay. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics that treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, skin infections, among others. And this stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at the fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jacemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your first order. So the Stars have a very, very important back-to-back upcoming here on Saturday and Sunday after dropping that dud in Philadelphia last night, taking on a New Jersey Devils team that is 5-4-1 in their last 10, and then a Islanders squad that is 3-6-1 in their last 10. They're both kind of in similar boats where they're trying to compete for a playoff spot. New Jersey's mostly been disappointing this season. Jack Hughes continues to be out, which of course is a big hurt with the wonderful season he's having. New York is a team that really relies on their netminder Sorokin, who is phenomenal, and they struggle to find offense as well. So the Stars, in theory, have a very good opportunity to pick up 4 points on the night. And I already touched on a few more of the details on both of these teams in yesterday's episode. If you want to hear a bit more about that, you can head to that episode. But let's go ahead and play a shooting star game. Okay. Shooting star. Who is going to be the factor for the Stars, hopefully picking up 2 wins this weekend? Shooting star for this back-to-back game against the New Jersey Devils and New York Islanders. Let me know your predictions. I'm kind of coming up with this on the spot, but I feel like this is a bit more positive and we can hope for better days ahead. So my shooting star for this weekend is going to be Joe Pavelski. Leave it up to the veterans, the 39-year-olds, to get the job done when it matters most in a time of maybe turmoil, which they're not in turmoil. Look, they lost a game, but a not very good effort yesterday in Philadelphia. I got Joe Pavelski, Mr. Captain America, leading this team to victory, hopefully twice on the weekend. A couple of goals for Pav. He has a phenomenal weekend. Maybe DeBoer goes back to the Avenger line with Rope, Hinson, Robertson. Pavelski leads the way. That's my shooting star for Saturday and Sunday against the Devils and Islanders. Would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Put that prediction in the comment section below. Let me know your shooting star. I like Joe Pavelski. I don't think I've picked him this season, so I feel very, very good about that pick. Maybe the power play will get going. Pav in front, that patented deflections, those tips. We need some greasy goals, and hopefully the Stars can take down some teams that are struggling this season. Need points, okay? Need points heading into the All-Star break. That is going to wrap up today's episode of Locked on Stars. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Friday. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Never miss an episode of Locked on Stars. You can follow me on the Twitter, the /X thing, Joey the Jet 19. Make sure to follow Locked on Stars on Twitter. I usually throw some stuff out there during the games, and I throw my opinions out there as well on what is happening most nights. I hope everybody enjoys a wonderful weekend. I'll be covering a few hockey games myself, so won't be able to have anything for the Saturday game, but I'll be locked and loaded on Sunday with everybody else taking in some Dallas Stars hockey. So I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, enjoys the time with family, staying warm as well. I understand it's very cold, it seems like, in every part of the world at this point. And even Texas is freezing up a bit. So continue to stay warm. Have a wonderful Friday. And we will see you next Monday. We'll break down the last past the weekend's games, and we'll get prepared for Detroit on Tuesday. So have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you on Monday. So long, Stars fans.